You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. You're watching Force 13 live. Typhoon Yutu, Philippine name Rosita, is making landfall pretty much right now, we've ascertained. As of half an hour ago, it was 12 miles from land, and extrapolating its current movement, as of about 5 minutes ago, it was estimated to be 3 miles from making landfall in Isabela province. We'll have landfall location specifics for you as soon as we can confirm the actual landfall. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined by the team in this hour consisting of Tim and Devon. Can you just check that this is working, because I'm not sure.
I hear you loud and clear.
It's working. We're still looking at Pegasa's website there. Signal 3 warnings in effect, Tim?
Yeah, Signal 3 warnings are all in effect in and around the landfall area. I know Devon read them out last hour. They do include Central Luzon, the Cagayan Valley region, the Cordillera Administrative region, and the Ilocos region. Signal 2 warnings both to the north and south of the area, including the northern Cagayan Valley region. This does include the city of Cagayan, the Cordillera Administrative region, and the Ilocos region. As most know, this was an area that was devastated by Typhoon Mangkhut last month. And the Signal 2 warning is going further down into the central Luzon region, closer towards the Manila metro area and the Calabazon area, including the eastern part of the Quezon province. Signal 1's into the Baikal region, the Metro Manila area, the southern Calabazon region, and the central Luzon region just north of Manila. These are all areas that will be getting impacts from this typhoon. The Signal 1's possibly tropical storm force or lower. The Signal 2 areas getting tropical storm force up to hurricane force or typhoon force conditions. And the Signal 3 is getting Category 1 to Category 2 equivalent winds from this typhoon as it's making landfall in this area.
Alright, I've got a position estimate from 20 minutes ago. This was at, what time is it there now? 3:42 a.m. would that have been? We've just passed 4, haven't we?
Yeah, it's 4:03 local time there right now.
At 3:42 a.m. the typhoon was 4 miles off the coast of Isabela province and 17 miles south-southeast of Palanan.
Okay, that gives me a better fix. Let me pull up my Google Earth imagery that I was using earlier, and we can get that plotted out.
So that's information as of 3:42. We can put that onto our map as well. Our estimated 4 a.m. position, even though we've not got the information for that just yet, but we expect that by 4 a.m. that the storm has made landfall. We just can't confirm it yet, and this is what it would look like on our map here. The blue area is showing 500 millimeters of rain possible. Palanan is marked in relation to the storm's eye, and of course the signal 2s and 3 warnings there, with signal 1 further south. We believe the storm has made landfall. We can't confirm it just yet, but I think we will be in the next 10 minutes. And quite a bit earlier than what Pegasa was saying.
Yeah. Well, Pegasa, they have been putting out hourly updates for the typhoon, but that apparently stopped at 1 in the morning.
Did it?
So there has been an hourly update in 3 hours.
Oh. How strange.
Unless I'm looking in the wrong place, but I don't think I am.
Okay, Nathan, I have the Google Earth telemetry posted up with Palanon marked, and I've got it plotted out to about 16 and a half miles. So if the center fix is
pretty much
where we
there.
think it is, it's going to be right there where I've got the 26.72 mark at. So the eye is just offshore.
Slightly northeast of there, actually.
Right about there?
Just slightly northwest of there.
So you're talking right about
like that.
There. Okay. So let me get that replotted now that I've got that. So we're looking right about there. Looking about less than 14 miles from Palanon.
Really?
Which means at this current time, Palanon should be getting, if there's anything left.
It is a bit more than that. I think you've just clicked a random point on that river. It's a bit further downstream.
That's just south of Palanon there. So I'm trying to keep it zoomed out so I can kind of keep it.
No, but if you look on the satellite imagery, the actual town is further north than what is marked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is Google Earth, so it's not quite at a perfect setup. But just to kind of give the viewers an idea of what we are looking at, as it's been pointed out, it's approximately 17 miles south of Palanon, which would put it just offshore. And if it's moving the west-northwest that we were discussing last hour, areas that will be getting hit is Palanon for sure. And we've already gotten some reports coming out of Iligan City that the conditions are deteriorating there as well. If we plot it out further, then you're looking at cities like Dafin, Albano, Quezon, and then as it goes over the next mountain range on the western side, then you're starting to talk about cities like Bantay, Cayoyan, Santa Maria, possibly within the next 12 to 15 hours getting this whole storm as it passes through. So if it's a west-northwest track, you're probably looking maybe a track something like that, and that's just off the top of my head.
I do think it will go a bit further south than that myself, but that is a legitimate prediction though that you've put out.
Yeah, going with the west-northwest track that we're going in, and that might be a little bit higher, a little bit more northwest. You were talking it was like 275 degrees.
I just don't think it has been moving west-northwest in the last hour. I'm just not sure that will keep up.
So maybe a path more something along the lines of that, maybe. But that's why we also have these cones that the JWTC and the JMA put out for that reason, because tracking these storms is not an exact science.
Yep. People are talking about our gaming channel at this juncture. I've no idea why. Force 13 does have a gaming channel. I think you can access it from our YouTube channel page. If not, search Force 13 Gaming. That's not what we're going to be doing right now.
No, usually our Force 13 Gaming is usually more of off-peak times.
I've seen the recommendation, and I do know that one of our members does play that, so I'll let him know. We're just literally twiddling our thumbs right now, waiting for this landfall confirmation. The best that we can tell you for sure so far, even though we know it will have made landfall by now, but as of nearly half an hour ago, the storm was 4 miles from making landfall. and at the rate of movement that it was going, it probably did make landfall at about 1/4 or 10-4.
And I've come back over to the eastern side where we're expecting landfall. There's Palanan right there in the center of the screen. You have San Mariano just about 20 miles to the southwest, where conditions are probably deteriorating from those cloud tops that we were looking at on infrared last hour. And then zooming out further, you have San Guillermo just further to the south of that. There again is Iligan City, where a viewer in the chat was reporting conditions deteriorating there. So this basically gives a great idea of the geography that's getting impacted. Again, like last hour, like Devin discussed, this is a very mountainous area. You can actually see the mountains paralleling Iligan City down to San Mariano. So this is, and down to San Guillermo. So this is the area that Yutu has to traverse before it can even get to flatland, and some of the topography that Devin was discussing.
And I must say, I always wonder what happens in that area. That's the beginning of the Cagayan Valley region, and that river that runs through right up to Apari in the north. Does that whole river overflow when these typhoons come along? I'd like to know from someone down there on the ground.
That I honestly do not know. I would actually have to do some research on typhoons that have hit this area and see if that river has flooded. I do know when we were covering Typhoon Mangkhut, I know Strat had mentioned that this is a very heavily agricultural area.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the agricultural corridor doesn't go from Tuguegarao all the way down to Santiago and further down into these lower areas, even down into the city of Luzon itself.
We're still waiting for confirmation, I'm afraid. We should get it in a few minutes. I don't know what else to say.
Well, there isn't really anything that we can say right now, Nathan. I mean, this is probably, for not just us, but for anybody that's in the meteorology field that covers this kind of content and these kind of storms. This is that 0 hour that everybody dreads, because you don't know what's going on due to the information we have at hand. Some of it being 30, 40 minutes out of date.
You know, I mean,
as
I don't know about you, but us delivering this information, this is really the time of deepest reflection, whether you've actually made any sort of impact, whether there's anything you said in your forecast that you sort of regretted saying, or anything that you forgot to talk about.
Absolutely. And usually once you see how everything plays out, then you kind of go back and look at everything, and then you decide, did I actually give the right information? Did we get the information out there the way we needed it to? Just to
confirm, because a lot of people are coming in and out, I think we've just got some new information here. I think we can now confirm the landfall, and we'll let you know more in just a moment. So I'll let you keep talking, Tim, whilst I find out the specifics.
Okay, yeah, the sooner we have that landfall information, the better. But as you were saying, with these final moments with the landfalling system, you sit there and you do look back on whether or not you got the information out there to everybody, whether you second guess your forecast, whether those in this kind of community and other venues are second guessing themselves on their information.
Yep, we can now confirm as of 10-4, 3:50 a.m. Philippine time, Typhoon Yutu, Philippine name Rosita, has made landfall in Isabela province as a category 2. The landfall location is 14.5 miles south of Palanan, and that also puts it 25 miles north-northeast of Dinapigue.
Okay, 25 miles north-northeast.
From what I can ascertain to be the town of Dinapeak. The
That's
storm
20.
is now 30 miles east of San Mariano and 45 miles east of Cagayan City. The storm has made landfall at this hour. We estimate the landfall time to have been at 3:50 a.m. local time in the Philippines, and now the storm is moving inland.
That means probably right there where I've got it marked. That is probably where the landfall location is. Give or take a few miles there.
South a little bit.
A little bit further south. Okay, let me try to get it remarked.
I've got the... type in these coordinates. We've got a landfall location here of 16.85 north.
50. See, that's 52. Okay.
I thought you'd be able to just type it in and it will load it for you.
No, I've actually got to use the coordinates down on the
Damn
bottom
it.
right of my screen there.
Are you using it in decimal or in minutes and seconds?
It's degrees, minutes, and seconds.
So 16 degrees, 50 minutes, 59.97 seconds apparently. I don't think you need to be that specific. 122 east, 26 minutes and 24 seconds.
Right there, right where I've got it marked. Then, that's your landfalling location.
So there we are. The storm has made landfall. This occurring just after 10:04 Philippine time. Devon, any thoughts for us?
Well, no, not really. Everything that we could have already said about Yutu has been said. A landfall intensity of around 115 miles per hour has happened. And now the weakening trend will likely start as the center of the storm moves ashore. And hopefully the storm ends up winding down quickly and doesn't have much left of it as it stalls in the South China Sea.
I'll just leave my cursor there. That way the viewers can see approximately where landfall was. That is roughly 17 kilometers southwest of Palanan. You've got San Mariano there at 33 kilometers. And if it does go that west-northwest track like we've been discussing, Cagayan City is about 70 kilometers out. And if it's moving as slow as it is, conditions will start deteriorating really bad in Cagayan City probably in the next 5 hours, give or take. Considering how slow it has been moving over the last 2 hours that we've been discussing this.
And this is an X Category 5 storm. Certainly isn't any more.
Thankfully, no. That is probably going to be the saving grace for this area, including the Cagayan Valley, is that this is hitting as a strong Cat 2. As Devin has alluded to, almost a borderline 3. And that is really the big saving grace, because if this would have made a landfall as a Category 5, you would have been looking at the same damage that Mankut delivered to the area north of this area about a month ago.
So just to reiterate, if you've just joined us, Typhoon Yutu, Philippine name Rosita, has made landfall at 3:50 a.m. local time, 15 miles southeast, or somewhere in between, from Palanan.
And the bad part about this time that it is landfalling is it is still early morning in this area of the Philippines. So it is still dark out there. So areas like Palanan, San Mariano, they are probably not aware of the conditions that are going to be coming their way in the next couple hours. But
There's a lot of
Pegasus
frantic clicking going on just to make sure all of our social media outlets are in the loop on what the latest is on this.
And I'm hoping Pegasus actually got the word out there in a timely manner for that confirmation of that.
I think Pegasus has done a good job with what they did with this storm. They did pretty much exactly what they needed to do. They didn't really underestimate this storm like what happened with Mangkut. Thank goodness for that. So everything should go, hopefully, should go smoother than things went with Mangkut.
Well, we said we would broadcast until the storm makes landfall, despite heavy weather not only in the Philippines, but here as well. I'm certainly under the weather. I'm surprised I was able to broadcast for so long. We've had very testing times recently at Force 13 HQ, but nowhere near as testing as what will be seen over in the Philippines right now. Guys, we may as well finish up at this point. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I know there's been a lot of viewers asking about Oscar and this hurricane.
We could do
Erika, which
Erika?
I'm not too familiar about that.
You've lost me now.
Yeah, I'm looking at that myself.
Alright, let's just show a latest image of Hurricane Oscar for our Atlantic viewers. That is what it looks like there in that latest frame. It's got a very small eye. ATCF going with 90 miles an hour. National Hurricane Center may continue to upgrade the storm along those lines as well. You can just about see Bermuda, top left side of that image.
As far as Oscar is concerned, the real-time imagery looks good. The actual imagery that I have to use satellite estimates makes the storm look absolutely terrible and not even a hurricane. So that's what I've got.
Okay.
Okay, it's Hurricane Ekeka.
Ekeka? The storm in 1992? We're not going to talk about that storm. It's not related to anything that we're doing.
Yeah, I see somebody posting that in chat that threw me off. I do know that there was a remark about some area of interest down in the South Atlantic. I don't know if that's extratropical or if that's just someone trying to promote a fish storm or something.
I've no idea. So just to clarify, whether the storm made landfall closer to Dinapeag or Palanan, it was closer to Palanan. It's sort of in between the two, but it was closer to Palanan at 15 miles. Dinapeag was at something like 25, I think I said.
Which, in case
and
anybody
I can't remember if I showed you the imagery of the storm actually making landfall. There is those latest frames there moving through and really looking an absolute mess. I might now be on board with the storm losing hurricane or typhoon status over land now. It's looking awful already. Devon?
Yeah, and this just shows how quickly those mountains really degrade typhoons like this. And I know that there were some questions whether if it's going to maintain typhoon status or not after it passes Luzon, but it obviously the eye is already pretty much gone, and it's going to continue be going downhill from there.
Gee. Well, that is pretty much all that we'll be doing at this point, because I think we have made ourselves as useful as possible, despite being as unwell as possible in my case. Really not had a very good few days. Oh, I think we can just have a word with David as well before we finish here.
Good to be here, Nathan, and hi to the viewers. And with Yutu or Rosita now making landfall, it's still a dangerous system. I've been following this very closely, and the overall picture really hasn't changed. The key item out of the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre's latest advisory, and it's been the same for the last 3 to 4 days. When you look at the models, the timing of the weak curvature, and there's still that's still a key point. And just looking at the centre's current chart, the timing remains critical, and once it crosses the Luzon area, the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre, as I posted in the live chat room, is that it could deepen further, but I think the peak is 90 knots. So Taiwan, well, we look at the code of uncertainty. So at this point in time, Nathan, we just no one can take their eyes off this system.
Yep, well, that's us finished for now. We're going to be turning the stream off, but there's going to be regular updates throughout the evening. Probably not by me, because I'll be underground somewhere in a dark room. So maybe it'll be David or someone on the team, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Well, we hope things go well over there in the Philippines. It's not been the best of years. I mean, 2 significant landfalls, you know. The Philippines had the second longest typhoon gap ever prior to Typhoon Mangkhut, and it was 40 days away from being the longest gap between typhoons ever. It was a gap that lasted well over a year from Nok 10 to Mangkhut. Massive gap for an island chain that really gets huge amounts of storm activity. The amount of landfalls in the Philippines is probably about the same as the amount of islands in the Philippines by now, at over 7,000, and we hope that they all have a tolerable time during the passage of this storm. Stay safe out there. That's all from us tonight into this morning. We hope you enjoyed our coverage. We hope you found it useful. We'll be back again for the next storm, and we'll be back with more updates in the interim, courtesy of our team. Have a good morning, as best as you can. That's all from us. Until next time.